Well, good morning, my friends. It's an honor to be with you this morning. My name is Reverend Dana Lightsey, and not only am I your minister, but today I'm your worship associate. There we go. That's pretty cool. So welcome to Namaqua Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I love this phrase. We are a come as you are congregation. And what does that mean, come as you are congregation? It means that no matter who you are, what your faith tradition is, or who you love, you are welcome here. We acknowledge that the land that we are on today is traditional and ancestral homeland of the Arapaho, the Cheyenne, and the Ute nations, and other peoples. We recognize and honor the indigenous peoples as the original stewards of this land and vow to reconcile the deep wounds that still shape our world today. So I want to extend a very special welcome. I've met a couple new people already, and I welcome you to all of our first and second time visitors. We would love to stay connected. That's the meaning of beloved community. So please let us know in the back by signing up on our sign up form, and you can receive our communications. That would be great. Janet is the person to talk to. So the Namaqua Unitarian Universalist Congregation fosters a beloved community that celebrates diversity, strives for peace and justice, acts mindfully for the good of the planet, and inspires spiritual growth through a free and loving search for truth and meaning. May it be so. Today, in our community gathering, we have some announcements, of course. The first one, before I forget, Clay, one of our co-chairs for Building Community, reminds me that we have a sign-up list in the back for lunch. It's not the lunch bunch, it's the lunch group after church. So it has an official title and I'm forgetting. But sign up to go have lunch together because it'll be a lot of fun. And today, we're getting together after the service for a special forum to continue talking about the history of the church and who we are and what we're all about. This is important interim work and it should be fun. At least I'm going to have fun. I don't know. And my friends, I invite you to share the love with Reverend Laurel and her partner, Francie. Share the love. You know what we're going to do? We're going to surprise them because I'm going to invite you to write Valentine's cards for the next 3 weeks. And then on the 12th, I will pick up those Valentine's cards and mail them to them. Okay, so it'll be a nice surprise and it'll be a nice way for you to stay in touch with them. It'll make them cry. You know it will. But that'll be a good thing. They will love it. So I realized that I forgot to put those out. So when I have a break, you'll see me disappear, and voila, they will appear in the back. So there will be cards that you can sign, or go ahead and write your own letter at home and bring it in next Sunday. Speaking of next Sunday, Claire and I are doing the service together, and it's all about looking into our future. Oh, I need a crystal ball. So if you, I hope you can come to this service too, as we begin to dream and imagine what the future may be for this congregation. And after the service, we will have another forum to continue that conversation as well. And now, my friends, I invite you to turn to those around you and welcome them here this morning as a part of our beloved community. Well, I'm going to weave in the song where you're going to a few different times, just a little chant here and there. But feel free to chime in if you can figure out what key I'm in. And then also I decided that for the benediction, that the right thing to do was Laurel's closing song. It's a blessing you were born. Okay. So I'm just gonna launch into it. If you feel like joining in, great. Yeah. Let's stand, shall we? And that's the reward for being the hearty people that you are coming out today. That's amazing. Oh, so much fun. So this morning, my friends, we're doing interim work together. We're done with the holidays and we're ready to, it's like, why do you have an interim minister? Oh, so we can do interim work together. And this is it. So today we begin by looking into our past and telling our story, considering why this church was started and how it has kept going for the past 24 years. So I'm wondering, who are you, Namaqua UU? I remember the first time that I attended a service at Namaqua. It must have been 2003, 2004. I know, you didn't think I went back that far, did you? I was the board president in Greeley, and some of us just came over for a visit that Sunday. You had just announced that you were hiring Alicia Ford as your new minister, and you were so excited. And I was jealous, just saying. You were meeting in some basement, it seems. So, anybody remember? Okay, Pulliam Building, okay. Over the years, I preached a few times and led Dances of Universal Peace during your worship services. And I brought my rock band of middle schoolers and high schoolers over from the Greeley church to perform. And you guys were gracious. They were great, I have to say, but you were gracious too. We had some good times. And that was all before you hired Reverend Laurel. And then I was off to seminary and you hired Reverend Laurel, and I knew you were in good hands, and I was right. But I always have remembered the good, incredibly positive, optimistic perspective and energy that this congregation has had. A real can-do attitude from what I could tell. So this morning, as we look back on your history and begin to consider your future, I invite you to join with me in singing a brief little chant here and there in response to the service. And it goes like this. Good where we've been, good where we're going to. Good where we've been, good where we're going to. You want to try it? Good where we've been, good where we're going to. Good where we've been, good where we're going to. Let's do it again. Good where we've been, good where we're going to. Good where we've been, good where we're going to. So we'll just sing that throughout here and there. So for our chalice lighting this morning, I actually took this from your website. More than anything else that I have read about you, I think this names your spark, your fire, and your saving grace. May these words rekindle our flaming chalice once again today. We are Namaqua Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Loveland, a church of open minds, helping hands, loving hearts, gutsy creativity, and feet that walk our talk. Do it. We have been a voice for our spiritual growth, free thought, and loving action in Loveland since 2000. And may it continue to be so. Good where we've been, good where we're going to. Good where we've been, good where we're going to. Good where we've been, good where we're going to. Good where we've been, good where we're going to. Thank you. And each week, we affirm that we are a tradition built on our covenants with each other. My friends, we are promise-making, promise-breaking, and promise-remaking people. We are not called to be perfect, but be faithful to one another. So join me now as we speak one of our covenants together. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its call. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Thank you. And now how about a wisdom story? But this is one about Unitarian Universalists, specifically Unitarian Universalist kids who started an organization called Change the World Kids. They're no longer just Unitarian Universalists because they invited kids from all faith traditions to be a part of it. So, as a kid, you see the problems in the world and you wish you could do something, but you often feel pretty helpless. So, I'm going to tell you the story about the two girls that started Change the World Kids. Phoebe and Nika were two girls, both about 8 years old. Sometimes they heard about bad things going on in the world, and like terrible wars where people would die, or earthquakes that would shake the ground and destroy people's homes. And they wanted to help, but they weren't sure what could kids do. So they decided to talk to the other kids in their congregation, which was the North Universalist Chapter Society in Woodstock, Vermont, which is a Unitarian Universalist congregation. This was the beginning of Change the World Kids. And their motto is, no one can do everything, but everyone can do something. Let's say it together. No one can do everything, but everyone can do something. So they also learned about the ripple effect, and that if one person takes an action, it can have a ripple effect out into the rest of the world. And in Vermont, where the kids lived, they had many bird feeders in their backyards. Anybody have bird feeders? Yeah, I figured. The bird feeders attract beautiful songbirds. And when Vermont gets very cold, the birds migrate south to warmer places for winter. And one springtime, a couple of Change the World kids noticed that fewer birds came back to the bird feeders after that winter. And they wanted to know what happened to the birds. Well, a scientist told them that these birds are endangered because people in Costa Rica were cutting down the trees, and the birds need the trees to live in Costa Rica. And not only that, but some of these birds, okay, the three-wattled bellbird, to be specific, tropical birds, need to fly over trees in order to migrate. And if there are no trees, they won't migrate properly. So what could the kids do? The problem was happening thousands of miles away in Costa Rica. So these kids decided to contact people in Costa Rica, and they even traveled to Costa Rica. They raised money and they started an organization in Costa Rica called Forests Forever in Spanish, which I'm not going to pronounce. They used some of the money to buy land for a new habitat for the migratory birds. Some of the kids took trips to Costa Rica to help plant new trees. They replenished the forest with more than 40,000 trees. That's more than just a couple. That's pretty cool. And now those trees are providing fruit and shade for many species of birds. Now, as these kids got older, the Action Club included teenagers and middle schoolers from many different religions. They know that every action, no matter how small, can have ripple effects around the world. So now they do simple projects as simple as shoveling snow for an elderly person in their community, and as complicated as raising money for children's schools and healthcare in Rwanda, Africa. Yet each person can do something to protect the earth and all of its life. Each makes a ripple effect. And it's important to remember the empowerment of this story, because 24 years ago, some people came together to create their own ripples by starting this church, because they too wanted to make a difference for people by giving them a new spiritual home. And today we are celebrating this congregation's commitment to be a church of open minds, helping hands, loving hearts, and gutsy creativity, and feet that walk our talk. Good where we've been, good where we're going to. Good where we've been, good where we're going to. Thank you. I invite Dick. Come on up. Yes. I'll be right back.
Good morning. Thank you for coming out on this snowy day. It's a beautiful day, though. It is a little chilly, though. I'm supposed to talk on my reflections on Namaqua. But I thought I should put that into context because by the time I came to Namaqua, I had been a UU for almost 40 years. My path to UU, this is not on. Talk in, okay. Thank you. My path to UU actually started about 1958. My father drove by the First Universalist Church in Denver and stated, they build it in a circle so the devil can't corner you. I thought, oh, that's pretty strange. Then in 1963, 1964, I attended the University of Denver for a year. And while there, I took a course, Introduction to Philosophy and Religion. The instructor was an Isle of School instructor, and he assigned a term project of Define Worship. To define worship, we had to go to 3 different religion churches that we had never attended before. And we had to go at least twice to each one. I chose Buddhism, Foursquare Gospel, and Universalism. The Universalism was probably because of my father's comment, which I still remembered. When I attended Universalist Church with a friend, I walked away feeling that I had found my religion. It's emotional because I had been searching for probably a dozen years at least by then. I joined First Universalist Church in May of '64, and for the next 35 years, I was variously active or inactive in religion in general. From non-attending to being treasurer of St. John's Unitarian Church for 2 years. St. John's is in Cincinnati, Ohio, where we were living. That's where I met my wife, Carol. We moved to Loveland in 1987 and attended Foothills a few times, but never quite felt comfortable. Not sure why, but we didn't. And in December 1999, I read this very small notice in the Reporter Herald that a group was trying to start a UU church in Loveland and was going to meet at the library. And I thought, yes, that's exactly what this conservative wasteland needs. I attended the December 12th meeting, December 12th, 1999. And I understand that was a second organizational meeting. We'll let the Bookmeyers, who were at the first, or maybe even before that, give a little pre-history on that. And I was placed on the Long Range Planning Committee, one of 2 that were formed that year, or that meeting. Long Range Planning Committee was required to write bylaws, policies, register with the state, all of those boring organizational activities and requirements. We chartered in May 2001, and in late July of 2001, Paula Harson and I attended Russell Lockwood Leadership School. Alicia Ford was my team leader. So I had an early introduction to Alicia. I would strongly recommend, if you get a chance to go to the leadership school, which I think is now being done on the West Coast, take it. It was a great experience. I was a treasurer for the first 5 years, and Foothills funded us with $25,000 over 5 years to help us get started. It made the treasurer job a lot easier. We grew both in membership which is the dotted line, and in finance. And I felt we were being very successful. In July of 2004, a number of us attended GA, which is the General Assembly, the National UU Conclave, so to speak, in Long Beach, California. Anyone else here attend GA that year? Sure did. And there's one in the back here. Oh, Dana did. Okay. And out of that, we passed the half plate ministry. Sally Landis, well, I should go back. Sally Landis was the head of the committee, long range planning committee. Sally is now living in Arizona. I hope she's still alive. I have not heard. But after adopting the half plate ministry, as not unusual, NUUC had a budget shortfall. And we were trying to figure out how we do the next year, which would be 2005. And I think that was the year I was president. So it was interesting for me to make sure we could do it. And suggested we can't afford to give it away. We need it ourselves. Well, fortunately, Shirley Rossum, who was the treasurer that year, said, excuse me, but we've actually increased our income through the plate collection with the half plate ministry. And not only did we increase our income, but we helped support 4 nonprofits. Never anything else said on that issue. From 2000 2011, we were traveling gypsies. We held Sunday services in 6 different facilities, buildings. We even had different rooms within different buildings, same buildings sometimes. But to me, what held us together was our strong sense of community. We had some major discussions and difficult discussions and made some hard decisions on topics such as ministers, RE, music, and finances, all done following the 5 principles. And I think that helped hold us together really well. While I was tired of being a gypsy, I was not in support of buying this building. And I was probably the lead advocate against it. As I felt it would restrict growth. And if you look at what the growth was before we bought the building, you can see that it did restrict growth, or at least it hasn't been on the same graph, upward climb. However, because partially due to the pandemic, I have decided that it was a good decision. That if we had tried to really push ourselves, pandemic hit, we may not have made it. So I am pleased that we did that, and I wanted to let people know that. I still think we need a larger facility. I like to see it in or near downtown, which is where we're at, not necessarily this lot, but in this area. It should seat 150 to 200 people with 6 classrooms for RE and a full community kitchen. And that's what I would like to see in the future. To quote the Grateful Dead song Truckin', what a long, strange trip it's been. And the best is still to come.
Good where we've been, good where we're going to. Thank you, Dick.
The composer of today's pieces, Arthur Foote, was a Unitarian. He lived from 1853 to 1937. He was the organist at First Church in Boston, a Unitarian church, and he edited a Unitarian hymnal, a precursor to our gray hymnal. He started the American of organists, whatever the word is. And he wrote lots of music books, lots of music articles, and he wrote lots of chamber music, including sarabande and rigodon, which you will hear this morning.
Now is another tradition where we honor all that is our lives, ebbing and flowing through the joys and sorrows that life brings. If you have a joy or sorrow you would like to share with the congregation, please come forward and share a brief personal comment. If you're unable to come forward, please raise your hand and I'll bring you the microphone. And those of you online, please share your comments in the chat and our Zoom host will read them aloud. We'll respond with, we hear you, we hold you, and we care for you. Good morning. Your social justice ministry worked very hard this week to help participate in the rally for Tyree Nichols that took place. The march started at the Oval at the University in Fort Collins, and then we marched to Old Town yesterday. And what made me so proud was that a professor started this organization, the organizing of the young people, but it was all young people in their late teens and 20s, these college students, and they marched on the street. And if you don't think the world is going to get better, then you're not watching these young people and how, I don't want to say fired up, but I just want you to know how passionate they were. And because I'm the grandma in the group, they came up and they gave me a hug and got some grandma love because they were so happy that an old white woman is on the front line still doing this stuff. And I'm like, we're going to carry the torch and we're going to continue to make things better for our brothers and sisters all across the planet. Yeah. We hear you. We hold you. And for all that participated, thank you for being there for us. Thank you.
I'm Jennifer, and I have a joy. Our daughter Rachel and our new grandson are traveling from Seattle to Atlanta, but they're stopping by both on the front end of that trip and on the back end of that trip to visit Peter and I. So we're just excited she's coming in this evening.
Great. Hear you. We hold you. We care for you. May you have a great time.
Good morning, I'm Vicki, and how many of the rest of you got to take home one of the little budding plants last week? But mine is in full bloom. And the room I put it in, it just has this amazing aroma. And it just brought me such joy. And I needed that this week because I was kind of puny in the middle of the week, but I kind of pictured all the rest of them. How many of you took one and is it blooming? Yeah, that was just a really special treat.
Hear you. We hold you. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone online, Clay? Or yes. Hope to see you too. We hear you. We hold you. We care for you. And may you heal well and quickly. Good. Anyone else? Thank you. So I invite you now, as we turn inward and settle into a nice meditative space, to hold all of these joys and sorrows that we've heard today and all that have been unspoken. And breathing in, nice long breath. And breathing out. Once again, nice breath in. Long breath out. And one more time. And out. With every breath, we are given life. And with every breath, we are lovingly caressed by the spirit of life. The spirit of life flows through this congregation as it too inhales and exhales, ebbs and flows. Let us give thanks for all who have come before us to create and sustain this congregation. For they started this flow of which we are now a part. Breathing in as a congregation and breathing out. Spirit of life and love, may we open our hearts once again to the passion for love and justice. May we be stirred by the winds of mercy and compassion. And may we be renewed by the warmth and light of this beloved community. May it be so. Amen. Come unto singing in my heart on the stirrings of compassion. Lord, in thy wind, rise in the sea, move in the night, giving light the sheep of justice. Roots hold me close, set me spirit of love, come to me, come to
Good morning. Good to see all of you. My name is Jennifer Buckmeyer, and I just wanted to reflect a little bit on the beginnings of this church. Peter and I, like Dick, we hadn't been Unitarians that long, but we'd come from West Seattle. And so when we moved here, when Rachel was a kindergartner, we immediately found a Unitarian church, and Rachel was a member of RE. So we quickly became very involved in the RE program up at Foothills. And so in that process of being connected with Foothills, it was in the spring of 1998 that Gretchen Snowden, who I don't know if Gretchen was a member of the board, she might have been, but she was from Foothills and was a little powerhouse at Foothills. She approached me during coffee hour and said, we think that there's an interest in starting a church in Loveland. And would you mind holding a meeting to get a pulse on that interest of having a church in Loveland? So I'm kind of shy, but I said, okay, I can do that. So I put out she gave me a list of names and numbers of members who were attending Foothills, and said, and so I contacted those people, and we got together on the Buckmeyer back porch on May 30th of 1998. And that was 25 years ago. So I hope you'll forgive me. You know, my memory is a little fuzzy. I don't know exactly who was there, but I know that Marsha Lewis was there. I know that Kent Robertson was there. I know that Mary Magruder was there. And I really apologize if I've forgotten anybody else. So what happened on that back porch was that the answer was yes. We should have a church in Loveland. There's enough of us, we can do this. So in fall of 1998, we had another meeting at the home of Kent Robertson. And again, I don't remember exactly who was at that meeting. There were more people at that meeting, and Gretchen was able to join us at that time. And what Gretchen said was, Foothills is interested enough in having there be a church in Loveland that we are willing to sponsor a couple of emissaries who would go to Boston and learn how to start a new church. The two people that volunteered were Kent Robertson and Marsha Lewis. And Marsha reminded me just a couple months ago that that was a week out in Boston. So bless their little souls. They went out to Boston to learn how to start a new church. And I will forever remain grateful for that, because I was the mother of a young child and working full time. Peter was working full time. But they came back from that meeting in Boston and continued to spearhead the lovely community that we now enjoy called Namaqua. So I just wanted to let people know that that was actually 25 years ago, was the very beginnings of meetings about this congregation. Peter will talk more about things, and I really appreciate Dick's reflection on names that totally ring a bell with me. But I want to take a moment here to just mention an elder of our church that really affected me as I went along in our congregation. And her name was Barbara Fleming. So Barbara Fleming passed away I think it was 21. But she was a little powerhouse. So here's what I remember about Barbara Fleming is that she was a woman who had pretty strong opinions and was not shy about expressing them. So I sort of held Barbara in this continuum of being intimidated, maybe to the point of terrified. Okay. So I didn't spend a lot of time talking to Barbara because she was a little intimidating. But as I went along and joined committees with Barbara, I realized that she, first of all, had a fabulous wit and a very sharp mind. And I really came to appreciate the way she was able to express things and bring forth her insight and wisdom. And one of the things she told me as I moved along in our congregation was she said, you know, don't know why anybody would feel intimidated by me because I'm just kind of a quiet, meek little person. And it was like, really? Because I didn't say anything. I just smiled and said, okay, maybe that was just me, but I don't think so. So, but one of the words of wisdom that Barbara gave me, which I have held on to this day, was we were at Thompson Valley at the time, and I was probably whining and complaining about how tired I was and that I was overcommitted and, kind of burning out. And what she said to me was, this is my belief that if you're kind of tired and burned out, you just need to do something different. So find another committee to join. She didn't say quit. She never said quit. And I'm telling you, there was a piece of me that said, I think I'm pretty tired. And so she just said, just change what you're doing. And that was profound because I had spent years and years and years working with Mary Magruder in our RE program. Mary Magruder was the first grade teacher at Garfield Elementary, and I was a nurse at Garfield Elementary. So we spent years and years and years planning our RE program when we were supposed to be working. So, but we'd grab a lunch hour and kind of figure out what we were doing that Sunday for RE. But over the years, what I found is that not only did I participate in RE, but I was part of the membership group. I was part of COSM. I was part of community building. I was part of choir. I tried ushering with Terry just a couple weeks ago. That was new to me. The one thing that I never did and that I probably will never do is technology. It's kind of not my cup of tea. So, through these years, Peter and I have tried it. There's that saying that says, when you're part of a community, you offer your time, your treasure, and your talent. And so Peter and I have been pretty good with time and treasure. Our talent might be a little iffy sometimes, but we do the best we can do. So I really appreciate all that have contributed their time, treasure, and talent to grow this community. And when I think about this community, one of the things I think about is Dick bringing forth names that are so close to my heart. Paula Harson, Sally Landis. There's so many people that had touched my heart, and they're no longer with us. Either they're no longer with us because they passed away, or they're no longer with us because they've found a different calling in life. But what tickles my heart is to come across a name in our congregation that I don't know. And to me, that just brings great joy, that says this community is growing and thriving. And for that, I am most grateful.
Hi, I'm Pete Buckmeyer, and I've got this coat on because the zipper broke and I can't get it off. So instead of doing a strip tease up here, I thought, okay, my thoughts for today were we wondered as we wandered. And basically, this ties in with what Dick had to say and what Jennifer had to say, that we started a little community here in 1998 to create a new UU church here. And when Marcia and Kent Robertson got back from Boston, the first thing we tried to do was find a place to kind of exist. Now, we were working in the library at that time, thanks to Marcia, and she was the librarian there and was able to get us the Gertrude Scott room on a regular basis, but we kind of wore out our welcome there. First of all, because it was a single room and we had no place else in the library that we could go. So what we decided to do was to move over to the Pulliam building, which is the community building over here that they're remodeling. At that time, it was in pretty shabby state, and we were meeting in the basement. And every Sunday, we'd have to go upstairs, call stuff downstairs, take stuff, put it back up. And we were continually doing it up and down those stairs. And we got kind of sick and tired of that. So about that time, we had a whole community of people that decided to get together and form the Namaqua Unitarian Universalist congregation. Now, we had a competition on the name for the church, but we decided to have a name the congregation after Namaqua, who was the daughter of Mariana Medina, who was the first non-native resident of Loveland. And she was also the namesake not only of the little park in West Loveland that we went to on sunny days, but also for the elementary school in that area where some of the kids went to school. In May of 2000, NUUC chartered, and during that time we began meeting on the first and third Sundays in the basement of the Pulliam building and started organizing leadership under a board of trustees. Starting in 2001, we started our nomadic period, and we started having Sunday meetings at Conrad Ball Middle School, where we found no storage at all. A janitor who didn't like our stuff all over the place. And we ended up with all of our congregants having their garage full of our junk. And they'd have to haul it down every Sunday. And finally, what cured us of that problem was that the support staff at Conrad Ball didn't want to work on Sunday, so we had to find someplace else. We then moved to Thompson Valley High School, where we met in the cafeteria. We had a whole row of noisy Coke machines that we had to yell over in order to have a service. We finally resorted to going out and unplugging all the machines before service so that we could at least have a conversation. This was also when we bought our first audio system to beat this challenge. We also had volleyball games and basketball tournaments scheduled over the top of us so that we had lots and lots of strange looking people walking through our service in the middle of the cafeteria. And we also had to build our own cabinets to store stuff in. Again, they didn't have any storage area. So we built a bunch of great big cabinets in order to store all of our stuff. We then moved to the Thompson Valley Administration Building, where we met in the school board meeting room with coffee in the lunchroom and RE classes in the hall ends, because they didn't have enough space for us to have little RE groups. The kids loved it as we moved back and forth between the storage area, which was on the far end of the building, because they always wanted to have a ride on the carts as we moved the stuff back and forth and back and forth. We also had several days that were like this day, where the latest and greatest computerized environment system failed to turn on the heat in the building. And so we sat there under packing blankets to have our service with air, clouds coming up. Okay, in 2004, we had a great year when we decided to share space with the Mormon community of Church, Christ Church over here on 6th Avenue. We had RE rooms, we had plenty of heat, plenty of storage, and no setup worries. We, however, couldn't agree on a non-overlapping service time, so we had to move out of that building. We went to Ferguson High School at Hilltop Drive, and that became our home in 2009. We had lots of room, RE space, outside playgrounds, coffee space, and lots of meeting areas. We didn't have to move much stuff, and we were finally able to spend the time to call a full-time minister in 2012. Sometime in 2014, it was decided that we needed some serious to apply some serious energy, looking for a dream that we'd have our own space. By the end of 2014, our real estate search team, which included me, had located a place right here on 5th and Pierce Street in downtown Loveland. And this was the former St. Spiridon Church. Actually, what happened was one of the guys that I worked with was eating lunch with me, and I mentioned that we were looking for a church to buy. And he mentioned that the St. Spiridon's church where he went, which was here, was up for sale. Doug Stewart headed up the fundraising team to see if we could come up with the required funds to purchase this property. And our negotiating team began to process the finance and purchase St. Spiridon's. And soon thereafter, our first home project team got together and that was made up of Nancy Kane and Jeannie Bolden, Steve Dornsife, Carol Kalk, Dan O'Brien, Reverend Laurel, and myself. And we were charged with overseeing all aspects of preparing the new building to our occupancy. And that occurred in November of 2015. And it was quite a challenge to take this old building and bring it up to somewhat of a code. When St. Spiridon's left, they had a 2-ton piece of marble sitting on this little step out here. And we had to move that down the middle of the church and out the back door to get rid of it. And that was their altar. So it was consecrated, so it needed great care. So basically, we've had a long stretch of wandering around Loveland to find a home. We finally have this one now, and I agree with Dick. We're going to have to start looking again here pretty soon. But we are here.
Yeah, it might be working. Okay. I think I'm going to use the handheld anyhow. Sorry to change things up on you. Well, it's been wonderful hearing all of these stories and hearing about the history of the church. Some of us don't know all these details, and it's fun to hear about it. Carol Koch, am I pronouncing her last name correctly? Good. Sent me something else to read. She can't be here. She just recently had surgery on her neck. She lives in Longmont. She is healing well. So I'm going to share this, and we're running out of time, and so I'm going to skip my words for today, and maybe we'll pick up there next week. So Carol says, I was advised by a Methodist ministry friend in 1999 that he thought I was a Unitarian Universalist. Some of us have had this experience. I had been attending a few different churches and associations to enhance my spiritual social life and decided to try Foothills Unitarian Universalist Church in Fort Collins. I just happened to sit next to a person I knew from work and his wife, and they told me there was a brand new congregation starting in Loveland. I was excited and started to attend at the Pulliam Building in Loveland every other Sunday. The guest ministers were so interesting and inspiring, and soon after starting, Sally Landis pulled together a board of trustees and a charter was created in 2000. So we have to figure out when we're marking our anniversary, because we should have a 25-year anniversary celebration, and I'm not sure when that is. She goes on to say, I am proud to be one of the charter members. I helped the congregation relocate, as we have heard, to various locations, and unexpectedly became not only a board member, but was also voted board president on 3 different occasions. I had no experience in this type of role. However, I had many years of work experience at Hewlett-Packard and Agilent Technologies, so that translated into the ability to run and plan meetings, or plan and run meetings. I guess I did okay since I was asked back multiple times. As we have heard, we moved often in the first 10 years of being together. And many members went above and beyond every Sunday to set up and take down the different spaces. This is called church in a box. And any of you that know church in a box know it is hard work. So hats off to you. She goes on to say, it is definitely a labor of love and affection. I have vivid memories of Pete Buckmeyer storing items using a cart that also doubled as a ride for many children. It was so fun to experience the joys and smiles that it brought to everyone. After many locations, and she goes on to list them, we decided to purchase our own home. Committed members put in many hours of work to locate this building, raise the commitment of funds to pay for it, and all of the contracts and preparation needed to conduct our first service in 2015. It was a joyous occasion. And I think someone mentioned that she was board president at that time. Is that right? Yeah. She goes on to say, I have personally been away because I happily married my husband, Otto. That's a good reason. And moved to Loveland, or Longmont, excuse me. But I have also had many medical problems that seem to multiply and prevent me from being as involved as I would like. She might be joining us on Zoom today. Carol, I hope you are. I have started attending a few evening events with the Longmont Unitarian Universalist presence. But the fun, excitement, and commitment of Namaqua Unitarian Universalist congregation is still very much a part of me, and I hope to someday be more involved again. Namaqua Unitarian Universalist congregation is a place of sanctuary, friendship, love, caring, discernment, and kindness. We work hard to live up to our vision, which is to create love, peace, and justice. Thank you, Carol, for sharing that. And as I mentioned, I'm going to skip over my words today, which is okay. You'll hear one of these. So I'll share the last year that I hope you can be proud of who you are and all you have done. Yeah. Check, check. I hope that you can be proud of who you are as a congregation, for everything you have done, for everything you have lived for all the ways that you walk your talk. And you have done it brilliantly, and you have much to be proud of. So may it continue, my friends. May we continue. I invite you now to sing with me Fire of Commitment, and maybe we can just sing the first and last verse, maybe. So beware, we're going to skip verses. Skank, thanks. So, my friends, please join us for coffee and snacks after this, for our conversation will continue during our forum in the fellowship hall. And those on Zoom can also continue. We'll use the same link that we use for our worship service. Now, in honor of who you are and in all that we are celebrating today, it's a blessing you were born. And it matters what you do. What do you know about God? You might have to. What you know about God? Okay, let's try that again. What do you know about God? Is that right? No. Is a piece of the truth. May the beauty. What? May the beauty we love be what we do, and we don't have to do it alone. We don't have to do it alone. Oh, cha-cha-cha. Okay, very good. Thank you. Go in peace.